Hey everyone, thanks so much for stopping by and welcome to the inaugural episode of this new series that I'm starting here on YouTube called Jimbo on the Gym. Catchy, isn't it? All kidding aside, this is something that's actually been kind of rolling around in my noggin for a while here, guys. I've been exercising and trying to live the healthy lifestyle here for about this last 7 years. And God, that's really flown by. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it really has been. And I just, thought to myself here that, through all the things, all the experiences that I've had and all the trials and tribulations and experimentation and everything that I've done, I really just have reached the point where I feel I've got a few things to say. First thing I want to get right off the table, guys, A, I'm not a doctor, B, I'm not a nutritionist, and C, I'm not a personal trainer. I am not licensed in any of those fields, and anything that I say in these videos is absolutely no substitute for the advice of any of those types of professionals. So just take anything I say here as just a simple suggestion from a guy who's been around the block a few times, and just some basic fundamentals that I feel anyone who knows anything about fitness or eating will incorporate into their regime, their lifestyle, what have you. So again, just take this not even as advice, just a suggestion, from somebody else. And if you choose to employ that, great. And if not, that's okay too. This is just my 2 cents. So, few things that I wanted to cover here on the inaugural episode. Just a couple of we'll call them the 3 basic fundamentals that I feel are important when it comes to exercise and health. Number 1, have an exercise plan. What I mean by that is it's almost like a running joke between anyone who frequents a gym and goes to the gym regularly, that every year, right after New Year's, like the week after New Year's, second week after New Year's, something like that, you see a lot of really new faces in there. People that you've never seen before. And, if you go to the gym several times a week, you're pretty much going to see the same people there. There's going to be a lot of people who have the same schedule as you do and go there as consistently as you do. So in those 2 weeks, you see, a lot of new faces and people you've never seen before. And to anyone who frequents a gym, you would notice that I don't know how to say this without sounding rude, but it's very obvious to anyone who actually has exercised before that these people don't know anything about exercise. I'm not saying that to be mean. It's kind of like watching someone ride a bike who's never ridden a bike before. You don't know that knowledge from birth. It has to be taught to you, and you have to be practiced and probably instructed by someone who actually knows what they're doing. A lot of people think it's like a shot at their pride because they go to the gym and they don't know exactly what to do. Well, boys and girls, you weren't born with the knowledge of how to exercise. I wasn't, you weren't, no one is. We aren't born knowing how to walk. We aren't born knowing how to talk. We have to be more or less taught those things, by people who do know how to do those things. Babies, for example, they learn to talk because they're imitating the adults around them. Without those adults speaking, babies would not talk. So while the adults aren't sitting there in a classroom setting, for example, and teaching in the conventional sense, they are teaching by doing, meaning when they say daddy or mommy or baby or ball or things like that, kids are like little parrots. They want to learn and absorb and imitate their parents. So they learn basically by their parents' actions. Much like they do with walking. Kids observe their parents. They watch things around them, and they eventually have an increased desire for mobility, and with a little bit of help from their parents, holding them up and stuff like that, put it on their little walking training wheels and stuff, they eventually learn to walk because they have someone who's experienced at that helping them along the way. Exercise, in my opinion, guys, is absolutely no different. It's not rocket science, to learn how to exercise. It's something that I feel anyone can learn how to do because we all know how to move our bodies. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, roboto. We all can do that. It's just knowing how to do that in the correct sequence, in the correct way, and executing with the correct technique. That's where someone who knows what they're doing comes in to show you how to do those things effectively so that A, you're doing it right and you get the best results, and B, so that you do not get hurt. A lot of people get injuries simply because they don't know shit about what they're doing. So my first advice to you is, if you do not know anything about exercise, you need to seek the advice of someone who does. One thing I don't normally recommend is seeking the advice from a friend. Unless your friend's a professional personal trainer, if that's the case, great, go for it. You're awesome. You're lucky. But if it's just someone who goes to the gym often, guys, even if you go to the gym often, and I do, that doesn't make me a trainer. That doesn't make me an expert or a teacher. That's like saying that someone who is really good at math should be a math tutor. No, I mean, you're not, or be a math teacher, excuse me. No, I mean, you're just because you're good at it doesn't mean that you're a licensed teacher. That's teaching is a skill, a completely separate skill that you have to acquire on top of actually having the knowledge. Could I show someone how to do a specific exercise? Of course I could. People have shown me how to do that, but that doesn't mean that I can formulate an entire exercise plan for another human being. The only thing that I'm an expert at is formulating my own exercise plan, because that's what I've done for myself. Picking this exercise and that exercise and stuff like that, and figuring out, my big cohesive pyramid, or whatever you want to call it, of exercise. That I can do because I know me. I don't know you. Again, that's where a personal trainer comes in. It is their job to understand what works for you and to build a system based upon your goals. So rule 1, have a plan. If you don't know anything about exercise, seek the help of a professional. Rule 2, have a meal plan. Guys, I'll be honest with you, when it comes to losing weight, and I speak from experience here, I originally lost almost 80 pounds. I can tell you first thing, your weight is 90% caused by your diet. Exercise actually has very little to do with how much you weigh. It does help, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really matter how much you exercise. If you eat crap, you're either not going to lose weight or you're going to gain weight. It's just that simple. I mean, you exercise and eating correctly just go hand in hand. You have to do them both together. So if you don't know anything about how to eat right, again, seek the help of a professional. There are nutritionists who are not personal trainers, although sometimes they're the same thing, who specialize in basically teaching people how to eat correctly. How to stick to the basic things when you go to the grocery store that's not going to make you gain weight, will actually help you achieve your goals, whether that be weight loss or fitness or muscle building or whatever. There's different approaches based upon what you specifically want to do. So seek out the advice of a nutritionist and just do some reading for yourself. That's what I did. Just kind of start to learn the basic principles of nutrition, of how protein affects your body, of how carbohydrates affect your body, fat, unsaturated, saturated, cholesterol, all these things. Start to understand how all these things affect your health, your weight, your exercise ability, all of those things. All of this stuff is out there on the internet. The internet is the world's greatest resource when it comes to information. So, get out there and do the homework, but again, at the end of the day, seek the help of a professional. Rule 3, consistency. You have to be consistent, or this simply is not going to work. You basically, an old friend of mine actually told me something a long time ago. I fortunately had the very awesome benefit of being able to work with a good friend of mine who's actually a personal trainer, and still is to this day, actually. He's been doing it for over 10 years. And he and I were in our youthful 20s together, where he was just, starting, becoming a personal trainer, getting his druthers and stuff like that, and he worked for various gyms. And he said something to me today that I actually still employ in my approach to all of this, and that is eat well, sleep well, exercise well. You do all those things consistently, and you will achieve your goals. So not only do you have to eat consistently if you want to lose weight, or if you want to increase lean mass, or if you just want to increase health. It has to be something that you do again and again and again and again. You can eventually, have little breaks in the chain where you go out and have a slice of pizza or have a burger or do this or that. You can, we'll call it cheat, just a little bit here and there. You don't have to be a robot, mindless, just doing the same thing over and over and over again. But 90% of it has to be consistent, where you stick to it and you stay on point. The same with exercise. You have to have your gym days where you go to the gym and you do it again and again and again and again. Whether that be 2 days in a row for you, whether that be every other day, that's what I do, or whether that be, this day and that day, depending upon your time, life, schedule and stuff like that. It's really just about consistency. You have to get up with a plan, and you have to stick with it. Okay, so I'd mentioned eat well and exercise well, and the third thing was sleep well. Sleep is a thing that I think a lot of people overlook, because there are a lot of folks out there who are harboring the delusion that sleeping less will actually make you lose weight. Science and studies have actually shown that that's not true for a couple different reasons. One, typically when you sleep less, your stress level goes up. You're more irritable. You're just, because your sleep cycle's screwed up. You're just kind of off your game a little bit. And typically when a human being's stress level goes up, we tend to gain a little bit of weight. The second thing is that humans normally, when you get adequate amounts of sleep, get a metabolic spike when we wake up in the morning. That's usually the reason that you're both thirsty and you're hungry. That's normal. You know, if you wake up hungry, you're doing it right because that means you got the correct amount of sleep. You might notice that most people actually crave carbohydrates in the morning. That's why most people eat things like cereal or oatmeal and stuff like that, because that's what their body wants, because the stores of that have actually been depleted while they've been sleeping. It's also the reason why you feel, most people feel dehydrated when they wake up, because you actually lose a lot of water when you sleep. So first thing, when you wake up, have one of these, fire down some water, rehydrate yourself, go downstairs, have yourself some breakfast, and get adequate amounts of sleep. So that about wraps up episode uno of Jimbo on the Gym. We're going to be doing a lot more of these, covering a myriad of different topics on exercise, eating, and whatnot. Eventually I'm going to open it up to you guys so I can answer any questions that anyone out there might have. Again, I'm not a personal trainer or a nutritionist. I'm just a guy who's been around the block a few times, and I'm more than happy to share my experiences with you if you guys find it helpful. So again, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.